everyone, welcome back to How We Felt About. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Eric and I have a couple of new-ish movies to do, a couple of things that have been out in the theater for a while.
Glass is going to be pretty... I guess it depends on when the video comes out.
Yeah, it's recent. It'll be a couple of weeks old by now. Our first movie came out at Christmas, so it's not even from this year. But we watched it a few weeks ago. We wanted to go ahead and put in our 2 cents and our verdict real quick. We did go see Vice, and weirdly, I've been getting a lot of questions about this movie.
Is it because it's Christian Bale?
I think it's partly because it's Christian Bale, and because a lot of our audience, I guess, went and saw it, and I think they were just curious to see if we would go, and if we would dare to talk about it, because it's a political thing, and we don't do politics on the channel. And that was the big question, is like, are you guys going to talk about it? It's a political thing.
Of course, it's a movie.
Yeah.
We don't talk about politics. We talk about political things. If it's in the work,
but we've never really done like a biopic that was about a politician, specifically, that kind of thing.
No, if you put it in that box...
Yeah.
We talked about Ultimates and Ultimates 2, which is just a hit piece on the same era. Like, it's just a criticism of
about
Bush
Wolf
era.
of Wall Street? Like,
Yeah.
So yes, we'll talk
about political things.
Yeah.
We still talk about politics.
Absolutely. I thought Vice was overall real watchable, and I'm glad I saw it.
I agree.
I have issues with it, and I'm conflicted about it. But it is a thing I would go back and watch again. I thought it was really entertaining. I thought Christian Bale gave an absolutely masterful performance. I thought he completely disappeared, and I could not believe what he looked like in that.
And I think almost everyone did. Not necessarily to his, but like Amy Adams was amazing.
Everybody was great.
Sam Rockwell was amazing. What's his name? Is Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Like everyone brought their A game to the performances in this film.
Yeah. Nobody was miscast.
Yeah, there was no I almost expect that in a movie like this, where it's like everyone's great except
that
for...
guy. Why did they do that?
Yeah, there was none of that. We did not have one of those in this movie.
Mm-mm.
Even Steve Carell's great. I mean, I say even. I like Steve Carell. But
Carell actually, I think, gave one of the better performances.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought a lot of... I thought the comedic actors were used for what they're usually used for, but it worked to really good effect for the material, if that makes any sense. Because like this was very much a dramedy. Like the comedic elements, I think, are why it's so comedic. I mean, why it's so entertaining, and I find myself wondering if that totally gels with the drama, particularly because toward the end, I feel like I'm supposed to, I'm supposed to like really be thinking and feel something, and like I'm supposed to make a judgment call about this person to some degree, and I feel like it was trying really hard not to be not to be too overwhelmingly like preachy about things throughout, or at least like overly heavy, because some people have watched this and called it preachy,
which is interesting,
you know what I mean?
Given the credits.
Yeah, because they anticipated that, right? Mm-hmm. But so not preachy, but heavy, where it didn't want to be relentless, and it wanted to have fun with it, and it threw its arms up in the beginning and said, "We don't understand Dick Cheney, but we're gonna do our level best," and they do that. So there's a lot of stuff throughout that's like really funny, and I'm laughing really hard, but then I get to the end, and I don't know if it gels with the rest of the piece. But because it's mostly or at least it feels like it's mostly a comedy until I get to the end, guys like Steve Carell kind of just doing a Steve Carell thing ends up fitting really well.
I didn't think he was doing a Steve Carell thing at all.
No?
I thought he was really reserved and serious. I think he's one of the most serious people in the movie.
Yeah, but he's like super sarcastic. I don't know. It felt like that was a very Steve Carell role to me.
Okay.
It works within the piece to a degree in like a series. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not explaining myself well. We're using comedy in a serious context, and it's working. Mm-hmm. And so we're finding people that do that well. That often it's played just for a comedic thing.
Yes.
But this is more layered than that. That's all I'm saying.
So my interpretation of the comedy of the film is a little bit different than yours.
Yeah.
Which is, I believe that we wanted to get like the word out to the people about like Dick Cheney, and so we coach all this in a comedy so that normal people will watch it. It's to make a very important piece more populist.
And more palatable.
I think they're trying to do the Wolf of Wall Street thing, is what they're trying to do with it. Well, like, is Wolf of Wall Street, like, a comedy, or is it, like, a horrifying story about this monster?
But a lot more kind of fourth wall breaking than that.
Yeah. I mean, there's fourth wall breaking in that. But,
no, there is.
But
This seems more aware that it's a piece that's being made, though.
Yes. My interpretation of this film is, it's so comedic so that normal people will watch it. The people that watch Steve Carell movies will watch this movie. It wasn't sold that way exactly, but like that's how I processed it.
Honestly, I think
and there are some really funny things.
Honestly, I think that's kind of what I'm saying, but you're just articulating it better.
Okay.
Like because at the end, it wants to be a really important movie, and I think it's hoping that. I think it wants to draw you through to get to that with the fun stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Mm.
I don't think we're saying different things.
Okay. My biggest problem with this as a movie, but also as even if it is some kind of like important statement about like Dick Cheney, my biggest problem is they don't understand Dick Cheney, and as the protagonist of the film, I often do not know why he's doing anything he's doing. He very often makes decisions that don't, in my brain, fully jive with like what I understand about the man, not in real life,
Even
but in the film.
Just what the film is telling you, yeah.
I don't understand why he's as power hungry as he is, and why he does what he does once he gets it.
And I don't know if they could have made that movie any other way.
Then don't make the movie, I guess. Well,
yeah,
I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too, but that's why I'm conflicted about it, because I don't think the movie works at all without the opening text.
Yes.
When they just throw their hands in the air
best.
and they say, "We did our best. We don't understand this person at all. We're trying," or not even we don't understand this character, this person, but he's so reserved and puts a wall up that like nobody knows very much.
He's one of the
about
most
him.
secretive
He's
men to run this country in like all of history, which seemed real hyperbolic to me. I can't imagine that's exactly true, but whatever.
It sure felt like it in the film, with what we were given.
But here's the thing: is what I got from the film doesn't feel like he's secretive. It feels like he's shallow. He doesn't seem like someone that's going out of his way to hide things about his life. It seems like he's just not that interesting as like a human.
I don't think that's true. I think he's secretive in that he's calculating and deceptive.
Okay. But like the way the opening text treats it, it seems like he like tries to make sure that no one has any information about him. I don't get that from the guy in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true later on. You know what I mean? Like, his early life, maybe not so much. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, the movie seems to know more about his early life than it does once he's in the White House.
That's true.
That's
true.
No, I think the idea is supposed to be that he keeps things so close to the vest so that you never know exactly why he's doing what he's doing. And I think the movie could have won you over more with that by bringing that more to the forefront. Mm. The problem is kind of that he is the protagonist, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it should be a guy that we're watching from other lenses more, because we're walled off from him because we have to be, because again, the filmmakers don't know enough about the man, but we keep getting things more from his perspective. We keep going back in time with him with flashbacks, and we keep seeing him when he's the only person in the room.
And we're with him more than anyone else.
More than anybody else.
Like, he is the protagonist of this movie, but I don't think they understand enough about the man to 100% make that work in their narrative.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who didn't really have any ambition when he was younger and just goofed off in college and drank all the time and didn't really have any dreams or goals, and whose wife almost left him over it. And he set himself straight so that he wouldn't lose his family. And like one thing I do understand about him all the way through is that family is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I get that. But then later on, when he seems to do whatever, and justifies the means, like whatever he has to do to have, all the control, and like the only reason he agreed to be Bush's vice is because he could have the kind of control he has. It seems like the best I can tell, the only reason he does that is for his wife.
Yeah. Is there... Well,
Like, she seems to kind of push him.
Kind
to
of,
some degree?
sometimes, but I'm never sure how aware of everything he's doing she is sometimes.
Well, right, but does she have to be if he just wants to impress her? If the idea is, like, ever since that night, he's going to be the best man he can be to keep his family.
Mm-hmm. Maybe,
And
like...
by best, I mean, like...
Most powerful?
Yeah,
most
strongest.
Successful?
Which
Yeah.
seems to be what she cares about.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I don't know if that's broad enough to the fore.
Like maybe it would be interpretive, but I think a lot of this movie is interpretive, not knowing a lot about Dick Cheney as a man.
Yeah.
But it seems like maybe like there could be like a fear for his family after 9/11. Like he's going so extreme because he's protecting his family from the terrorists, but that's not there.
That's not there at all.
But it might work better as a narrative.
Maybe I guess. Here's the
Because
thing.
I don't know why he's as hardcore. I'm not talking about real life. I'm talking about in the movie. I don't know why he's as hardcore about terrorism and all that as he is.
It's almost like the movie
in
has
the narrative.
It's almost like the movie has too much historical integrity.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
But
like they don't really want to misrepresent what they're showing, but they don't have enough information to represent it completely.
Yeah. Like it doesn't totally work, but I really enjoyed it while I was watching it.
The mid end credits is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
The Galactus thing was very funny.
Yep.
There were two or three other things
and he
like
wants
that.
to make a Silver Surfer movie.
Oh, that's awesome!
Apparently he has like...
So he put that in there because he loves comics?
Yeah, and apparently he's like been very vocal about now that Marvel has... now that Marvel has those characters again, he wants to make a Silver Surfer movie.
Wow.
But yeah. So yeah, it's a great sign flip. I just
absolutely
don't
it is,
love it. Which seems to be the reaction a lot of people are having to it.
It's just, by the end, again, I think the comedy overcompensates for the pretentiousness. Because when you get to the end, it gets pretty pretentious. I didn't need the heart metaphor, the heart motif thrown down my throat like it did. I didn't need the falling stacked cups.
That was the worst of the
That was a little much.
A lot of the cutaways don't work.
Yeah, like
when you have symbolic cutaways, I don't think they work.
The symbolism was just too in my face. Because you remember the thing also with the fishing lures. It's just all of that was too in my face.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I get it. You're doing symbolism.
Also, we put the scene where he shoots his friend in the face because if that's the one thing everyone knows Dick Cheney did.
Yeah.
Was they shot his friend's face. It didn't actually need to be in the movie.
It didn't do anything.
It didn't tell me anything about him as a person.
Well, you could argue. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was supposed to say that he's just not really empathetic to anybody but his
yeah, because I guess it gets us that Dick Cheney didn't make an official statement, but the one he shot apologized.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and
for the inconvenience it caused to his family.
Well, and I think part of the point of that is, I don't think you're right. I think that does tell us things.
I guess you're right.
Because it also shows how easily he's able to manipulate people.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
you're right.
You know what? Another thing. It's been a while since we saw this movie.
Yeah. We saw it like a week after Christmas.
It's been weeks now. But I also had the theory that part of the reason that he's as manipulative as he is, and he gets as much power as he can, is simply because he discovers it's the thing he's good at. So he just does it because he can. And I think some of that is maybe actually in the movie. I get why you might need more. I mean, I'm with you on it, but.
Like, I get that you don't know a lot about him while you're making the movie.
Yeah.
But also, I'm watching a narrative piece. And it doesn't exactly all come together as a piece.
Yeah.
And if I have to go do research, you didn't do your job. To tell a story. Like, that's the thing.
I think it might have been an impossible film to make.
It might be. I enjoyed watching it, but I don't think it fully works as a story.
Well, you want to talk about Glass?
No.
Hey, Eric, we're going to talk about Glass.
So I would like to just up front here say, so number one for my 2019 list of worst movies I saw this year.
So far.
No, I'm preemptively saying the worst movie I saw this year is Glass.
It's possible you see something worse than Glass.
Absolutely.
That is possible. I was embarrassed for Shyamalan. I really was.
I was angry that we let him do this.
Yeah.
Split shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't have given him a second chance after Split.
This film was, I think its biggest problem probably is that he just rushed it. I think if he gave himself 4 or 5 years, he would have written a better script.
I want to believe that, but I've seen other Shyamalan movies.
I get that, and the thing is, I haven't, so I have a different perspective.
Sure.
And I have an ignorant perspective, and ignorance is bliss. So, the only Shyamalan movies I have seen are ones that people have liked. I've never bothered with the ones that
which you don't like.
But people like.
Yeah.
I've only seen the ones that people have liked.
Exactly.
I might not be one of those people, but I've only seen the ones that people have liked. There are several Shyamalan films that almost no people liked, and I've not seen those.
He made 3 films back to back to back that are largely considered to be 3 of the worst films.
3 of the worst films
time.
ever. And I definitely won't go see those after this.
Didn't kill his career.
Now that I have seen Glass, I'm understanding some of the things that people are complaining about with the way he has been making movies. Split seems to have been an anomaly, and I know you don't even love that movie, but you have to admit it's better than this.
Oh no, it's absolutely
by
better
a
than this.
lot.
It's absolutely better than this. It's probably the best film he's made since Signs.
Yeah, and I think a lot
Some
of
people like The
would agree
Village.
with
I think
that.
The Village is just as bad as his other stuff.
Oh, interesting.
I think The Village is awful.
Uh,
He's not a bad director, I will say that. He needs to stop writing.
Yeah, no, and like most of the issues with Glass are not directing things, although I have some editing issues with it.
Sure.
I have some issues with like placement of scenes and stuff. Like, I won't get into that. Glass doesn't work as an extension and I guess finale of this universe and a larger story.
It's
it cannot
not a sequel to Unbreakable.
It has continuity issues. It has logic issues. It blatantly disregards just events and things we have been told in the
It
past.
reinterprets ideas to be.
Yeah.
It reinterprets.
You know how I always complain about that with Rises?
Mm.
I mean, this makes Rises look like it just doesn't even have that problem.
It reinterprets the premise of Unbreakable differently.
Yes.
And dumbly.
Yeah. It's rough. And it's... I think it's got major pacing issues. The ending just never it just goes on forever. It's too long in the first place, but it feels longer than it is.
And it feels like it's only that long so it can keep twisting.
Yeah, it's got to be his record. It's got at least 3 twists.
It's almost...
We're going to talk about him. I want to go full spoilers with this.
It's almost comedic. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like he knows his reputation. He made a movie where he's like, I'm going to twist, I'm going to twist, I'm going to twist.
Past the first 10 minutes, I could not take this movie seriously. Once what we thought was the psychiatrist lady, who turns out to be the Nick Fury of this universe, we're going to spoil everything, who turns out to be kind of the Nick Fury of this universe, starts trying to convince David and everybody else that they don't have superpowers. You know, even the guy who never had superpowers.
And doesn't have superpowers.
Once she started trying to convince them of that, I was out. Like all of that was so badly written, and the logic was so ridiculous. And even when you get the twist, because what it's supposed to be, the twist is supposed to tell you, no, all of that made sense because she was just trying to convince them. It wasn't that she actually thought that they couldn't do the things they said they could do. It doesn't work. It doesn't fix anything. It's still ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that she would think she could convince them of those things, and it's ridiculous that she would tell, particularly David, that I don't think you have the powers you say you have, and then have, like, gallons and gallons of water she could spray him with in his cell.
And his cell is steel reinforced.
Yeah.
So Siskel and Ebert, I think it might be Ebert's thing, but I don't know if it's both of them or just Ebert. Ebert used to talk about a thing that he refers to as the idiot plot, which is a plot that only works if everyone's an idiot.
Yep.
The first question I ask if I am David Dunn is, okay, if I don't have superpowers, why am I in a super cell?
Yeah.
Why aren't I in a normal cell?
And why does he never counter her arguments about his touch telepathy thing with, okay, but there's all these other times when, okay, so let me set this up real quick. So she tells him, once again, she doesn't actually believe this. She's just trying to fix it so that nobody finds out that these people have supernatural powers by making them think that they don't. And that's what she does with this psychiatry place. So she tells him, well, I think that what you that what you did when you found the Horde, when you found Kevin, is you bumped into him, and then you had like you were searching for him and you found him and you'd seen things about him on the news, and you were able to, once you bumped into him, like put together.
He had like sand on his like pants.
Yeah, and you put
Red
together
sand.
clues with the information you had already, and then you went and found him, and you didn't actually, and you interpreted that as a telepathic flash, but there wasn't anything supernatural about it. And he starts going, wow, wait a minute.
She suggests that he is like subconsciously and untrained, like as observant as Batman.
Like a
Sherlock
Batman
Holmes.
level, yeah.
That he just didn't notice.
Yeah.
How is that?
He
Got
comes so
superpowers
close.
if he can do that.
Yeah, and like to his credit, he's like, no, I really don't think that's what's going on. But he starts to buy it too, or come too close to maybe buying it, right? And if I'm him, I would say, okay, but 15 years ago, the first time I realized I could do this, I bumped into a person I'd never seen before, and then I went and found their house, and the guy had a woman like trussed up in his house, or a kid or something, I forget.
And like I didn't, because she's only using the events that happened right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So like
He's been using this power for 15 years. Can I mention a thing I like a lot? Because I want to throw out things I like, because there aren't very many, but I want to be fair. I like that he's been a vigilante all this time.
Yeah.
I really like that.
And I like that his son is still sees his dad as a superhero, which we will later.
He's working with him. That's cool.
We will later twist.
Yeah.
Where we try to be like, you just want your dad to be a superhero. Like, don't you think?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's dumb. But like.
But I like the
that
relationship at the beginning. I like that there's a little bit of banter. I like that even though David is still pretty broody, he's got a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Feels like he enjoys being with his son.
I don't like that we make him just as broody as he was in the first movie with just the plot device of his wife is dead. I think that's just there so that he can act like he did in the first movie, because we all remember that. And this movie has that problem a lot, where there's a lot of like, it needs to feel like Unbreakable, and so it's got to have all the superficial stuff you remember from Unbreakable. So like, he acts sad all the time, even though he's doing the thing that makes him happy because he lost his wife. That's the only reason we killed her off. I'm not even saying I necessarily have a problem with that. I just don't think it does enough in the film. And then I think it's just there to make him brutish. He's wearing the raincoat thing just because he had that in the last movie, so now that's his costume. I can run with that better because because his kryptonite is water, so he's wearing a raincoat. Like, that's at least like symbolically a cool idea. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I shouldn't complain about that. Maybe that's okay.
I don't hate that, but it still feels too easy and obvious. Like I'm of two minds.
You're on the fence about that one. Yeah, but it has that problem in places. Anyway,
I'm trying to just everything.
Where do you want to go?
Sorry. So with the woman trying to convince me he's not super.
Yes.
She also doesn't bring up that like, hey, I didn't believe this either.
Yes.
I had to be convinced.
Great point.
And also, so like you're gonna say like I'm not super strong because I bent these like no, I guess he hasn't bent the bars. He does something.
She's talking about the Horde at that point.
Yeah. She says something about his strength, and I'm like, okay, but like if I'm David, I'm like, okay, one, I didn't believe this in the first place, and two, let me tell you how much I can bench press. Now, before you speak, you're going to tell me that people can bench press that much. Look at me. I shouldn't. Those people have worked out their entire lives.
I knew that.
I didn't. I don't have the body of someone that can press that, because that's also.
I thought I could only do X amount. One day I did 3 times that.
Yeah, because that's also a problem with the Horde or with the Beast, where she's like, well, it's not that super strong, and I'm like, it's still, well, maybe not so much with him, but like it's still kind of more than he can physically.
Yeah.
Just based on look, because he's bigger when he's the Beast.
Yeah.
But she would suggest that he's not bigger when he's the Beast. That's psychological.
Right.
I don't care what you call it. If you can do something that you shouldn't be able to do, that's kind of a superpower.
You know what else I just thought of? With the Horde, he has 24 different personalities. Even if you convince one, you still gotta convince the rest of them.
Well, but she only has to convince the ones that believe in the Beast.
Okay, but in this movie, it's like half of them.
That's true.
No,
we're down to 10. We're down to 10.
You don't. No. Here's the thing. they all at that point believe in the Beast. They all know he can do the stuff.
Oh yes, you're right.
He can do what he can do. There's no believing.
Yeah.
There's no religious thing like that at that point, like there is in Split.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
No, what's weird about the Horde, or what's weird about because the Horde's only three personalities, and I always thought that was weird. But
now it's more.
But that's what's weird about it, is that it seems like almost half the personalities like I've sided with the Beast now, and I did not get the sense that that's what would happen at the end of the last movie. Like they would not be going along with him killing those girls and stuff.
Did you get the sense that he would like cycle through his personality? I haven't seen Split since theaters, but I kind of got the impression that at the end of Split he would just be the Beast.
Oh no! You're forgetting.
Okay.
You're forgetting the scene where they talk in the mirror to each other.
Okay.
There's a very important scene where they talk to each other, and where it's Dennis and Patricia and Hedwig all talking to each other through a mirror.
Okay.
And they're talking about how now everyone's gonna have to believe that they are all separate personalities and that they can and that the Beast can do what he does. That whole thing.
But do they physically take over the body?
What's going on at this point? But yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's a physical mirror. It's right. It's outside of the zoo.
Okay.
And it's or somewhere. I don't know where it is actually. But the way Shyamalan shoots it is like he keeps cutting away from the mirror to McAvoy whenever the personality switch.
Mm-hmm.
No, they still take him over.
Okay. That's just me misremembering. But
yeah. So no, that's not a problem. But
the Beast has lost all his menace. He has no presence in this movie.
He's on screen too long. Like the longer he's there, the less he's menacing. And I know folks are going to disagree with this. This feels like such a rush job to me. I don't think McAvoy has enough time to really perfect the new personalities, and that hurts it a lot. Like none of the other ones get a long time on screen, but even the few at the end, like Jade and some of those personalities, like some of the all the characters you get at the end of Split that are only there for a few seconds, he's still got the accents and everything nailed. He still turns into a different character. This felt like they were having him do accents he wasn't as good at, and he didn't have enough time. He didn't have as much time to like figure out what the personalities were like. So it felt rushed, and they didn't feel like real people anymore, and it hurt his performance. Mm-hmm. And just having to be the Beast that long hurt his performance too. And that's not his fault. And he's got some good stuff to do in this. And he's still the ones we're familiar with. When he becomes them, I still completely buy it. Like I still totally buy Patricia. I really like what they do with Dennis a lot. Mm-hmm. Like that Dennis finally turns on them, and that like he's got this redemption thing, and he wants to be a better person, and he didn't sign up for this. That's all really good. Mm-hmm. But it made me just want a Split sequel. Like, I don't think... This felt like a crossover that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, I totally bought this as being in the Unbreakable world at the end of Split. That's what was so cool about it. And then you get to this, and it feels like we put two worlds together that don't fit.
Well, and he also... Like... When she's being like, I deal with people that believe they're superheroes. Which, again, another one of my first questions would be, what's that called? What's that psychosis called? Because we don't get a name. That felt like the laziest thing in this movie.
And it's so broad and vague because, like, the Horde doesn't have that at all.
The Beast doesn't think he's a superhero or a supervillain.
He's never put things in those terms whatsoever. Mr. Glass doesn't think that he is supernatural. He has cast himself as a supervillain because he's discovered that what he thought existed does exist, so he can put himself in that comic book mindset, and he likes the idea that I'm the yin to his yang. But that's not a psychosis, that's just a thing that he's doing because he can. Like,
it's not like David's an idiot savant.
What makes him crazy is that he kills people in train stations and stuff. Like, that's what makes him crazy.
But, like... The reason he believes that David exists...
And David is still one of the most down-to-earth people on the planet. He just goes and stops crimes with his superpowers. That's it.
When he believes David exists because his bones break like glass, therefore, there must be someone on the opposite end of the spectrum, that's my opposite, that's that like doesn't break,
Because
unbreakable.
Extremes.
Yes. He doesn't think, well, I'm just the smartest person on the planet,
Yeah.
so therefore there must be an idiot that's the yin to my yang.
That's hilarious.
Because David's not an idiot.
Right.
He's not the smartest guy on the planet, but he's not an idiot.
No, you're right. It's the laziest thing in the world. We've roped him in.
He now has
the other
superpowers.
two supernatural beings because.
Well, it's... Shyamalan, this more than Unbreakable really shines light on the fact that Shyamalan does not know anything about comics.
Yep.
Because
he keeps making up tropes that aren't real tropes, and
he starts making just... You know, things that happen in stories? That's comic books.
That's the thing that always happens in a comic book. And at the end...
They call it the showdown.
It's like,
That's only
like,
ever
like, what do you
referenced in
call
comic
it?
books.
High noon?
Yeah, you like a western? But like Lex Luthor is a supervillain. Lex Luthor, you wouldn't say, has like a mental condition that he thinks he's a supervillain.
Yeah.
He's just a smart guy. He casts himself in the role of supervillain like Lex Luthor, like Blofeld, not like Magneto, right? Like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah, and again, it's not that he thinks the world is a comic book, it's that he figured out that somebody had superpowers, so now he has the excuse to act like the world's a comic book. That doesn't make him crazy. Mm-hmm. He's crazy for different reasons.
Yeah.
He is crazy, but he doesn't have like a I think I'm a superpowered being psychosis.
And he's
again,
not a super genius.
And he's not a
Unbreakable.
No,
he is in this.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. But then let's go to the tropes thing for a second toward the end because it's awful.
Well, before we get to tropes, should we talk about how like comic books are reality in this as opposed to Unbreakable? Because I think those are connected.
Yeah, we should do that too. So we got a lot to talk about here, and it's gonna take a minute because I've got to talk about the timeline issue with the train station.
Oh
That's
yes,
the biggest thing I want to talk about.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so. With the comic book like tropes and themes and stuff, he's lazily at the same time doing two things with that. It's prophetic and is supposed to tell characters what is going to happen so they can stop it, like Heroes. But it also is supposed to tell other characters what Mr. Glass is going to do because he operates like he's in a comic book. So it's this weird, almost like meta thing where it's like, well, this is going to happen because that's what happens in a comic book and we figured out we're in a comic book. At the same time as there's this more kind of like realistic thing of it's not really a comic book, but Glass looks at it like it's a comic book. So, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But we do both of those things at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it is weird writing.
I'm also at some point going to complain about the limited edition thing, which you interpreted differently, or we're not sure which one is right. But I'm going to talk about that because that's how I saw the movie.
I think I figured it out, and you're right about it. I think we just keep throwing that around because that's Shyamalan is pretending like that's a thing. No, you're absolutely right about it because I remember what limited edition is. It's the name of his art studio.
But he keeps saying, "Oh, limited edition."
I know, but I think they're just using that.
He's pretending that that's a comic book term, like a thing.
Yeah, and he named his shop after it.
Okay, so, can I break this down? Can I break down the limited edition thing for the audience?
Sure.
So, he keeps talking. Mr. Glass and his mom keep talking about a limited edition. These are the things that happen in a limited edition, as if limited edition is something.
And us as comic book fans should know what the hell he's talking about, and we don't.
No. He treats it kind of like an event, but the way he describes what happens in limited edition is the climax of a story. Like, usually, the villain goes to a like public place, the hero comes and stops. I'm like, that's any action-driven narrative.
What does limited edition mean then? Like, the important issues they printed fewer of? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so like when he dies, he like turns to his mom and he's like, Mama, it's not a limited edition, it's an origin story. That doesn't mean anything. No. It also doesn't make sense. Unbreakable was an origin story. This is not an origin story.
No, this is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
This is...
Because we kill off all the major characters.
This is, like... The first chapter of
No, this is the end of an event.
Yeah. The first chapter of Wild Cards isn't an origin story. Every other chapter in Wild Cards is an origin story because it's the first adventure for those characters.
Now, here's the thing. I get why he's saying that.
He should be like,
but
this is an occasion for story.
Yeah, you know why he's saying that though? Because
it's the origin of superheroes.
It's the origin of the world finding out about them.
But that's not what an origin story is.
No, it's not.
Especially in comic book terms.
But I'm pretty sure that's in the script what he was thinking.
Oh no, I assume it is. But that's not what that means. Like, the man doesn't know anything about
And that's
comics.
also the double entendre with Glass, where like we break through the glass ceiling of knowledge, and then everybody knows about
all of
the supernatural characters.
All of the comic book stuff in this movie, all of the dialect, which is there a little bit in Unbreakable, but like it was made in 2000 before like comic books were like what they are. Not the comic books. You know what I mean? Pop culturally.
Yeah.
This movie
it's more acceptable, and I don't know if you could say overall a lot more people read them, but more people are more familiar with like tropes and terminology.
They're at least watching YouTube videos about. Yeah. So this feels like 90s movies talking about video games. We're like, no one that wrote these movies played video games, but the new kids liked them, and so they're just going to say things like levels and things like, it didn't actually make sense.
You didn't go do any research at all.
No.
And he's working on his, like, it feels like he's working on his memories from when he was, like, 9 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been, what, like the 70s?
Probably.
And he's working, he's looking at, like, 60s and 70s books. He's not actually looking at them, but he's... Like,
I don't think he went back to any memories
working from them. And here's the thing. One of the biggest issues with this movie, and it's, as you can tell, we think this movie has a lot of issues. Mm-hmm. One of the big... like a comic book collection. One of the biggest issues that this movie has is it, and I was really worried about this when we found out that this movie was going to get made. I was afraid that it would, and this is what it did, that it would not acknowledge or take into account that 15 years of superhero movies have been made. In this world, that did not happen.
And we also haven't had the past 15 years... We haven't had the past 25 years of anything post-Watchmen in comic books.
Yeah. It's acting like it's the first thing to try some of this stuff, and that makes it look really pretentious, and it makes it look really ignorant, and, again, I'm embarrassed for it, because, okay, so...
It doesn't even know heroes exist.
It doesn't know heroes exist. Even just in like you said, we need to talk about the stupid prophetic comic thing.
Yes.
Because there's a... What's the name of that guy that draws the comics? Like, he exists in this world. Isaac Mendez is there.
Mystery Sock!
And he's not... Yeah. Anyway, so, but, like, the last...
Heroes is our old man thing, right? Like, that's the thing we're going to talk about when we're older. And, like, kids are like, I don't know what you're talking about.
The last 20 years or more, most of what comics have been doing is deconstructing themselves. And this movie is not aware of that. It acts like we are still using the exact same formulas that we've been using since the 40s, and that we have never been self-aware about it, and that every comic book ends the exact same way. It doesn't even know about arcs and miniseries and any of that. And again, I don't mean to be a prude about it, but like, I know comics, and this movie needs to be like exactly perfectly realistic about comic books.
But it wants talking about them.
And it wants to be realistic, like Unbreakable trying to be realistic. And there's issues with that with Unbreakable also, but luckily it doesn't go too far into the minutia. And this attempts minutia, and it doesn't work. I mean, one of the sillier things with Unbreakable is in the very first thing you see in the movie, which is text on the screen that says that the average comic book is 32 pages long. I don't know what it's talking about.
Maybe it's counting ads.
That's the only thing I can figure.
Yeah. That's never been the... It feels... Okay, so...
But like, it starts using arbitrary numbers.
So I was going to say, it feels like I can almost 100% guarantee you, because of how quickly he rushed to write this, because we know he writes this, like, right after Glass opens.
You mean Split.
Sorry, right after Split opens? I'm doing it the reverse.
Yeah.
Right after Split opens, we know he starts writing this. He didn't do any research. He wanted to make a movie about comic books but didn't do the research. Now, he may have done the research when he made Unbreakable, or some research when he did Unbreakable. And it's like he just thought, like, well, I still remember all that. I still remember the research.
And he was a lot more thoughtful about how he made Split, because he's pretty accurate about some of the stuff he does with the ID in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he looked into the real disorder.
Mm-hmm. And extrapolated from that.
All he needed to do was crack open, like, 3 comic books printed last Wednesday, and he would not have...
If he went and read that Tom King stuff...
Yeah, he wouldn't have written it like this.
Yep.
What is the deal with Casey opening up a comic book that shows exactly what happened at the end of last movie, which she's probably never told anyone?
Well, okay, so this hurts Unbreakable, and makes Unbreakable worse, because if this was the idea of Unbreakable, Unbreakable's dumb. So
I don't think it was, though.
I don't
I think retroactively he has added the Isaac Mendez thing.
Yeah. So, well, it's reverse Isaac Mendez. It's not prophetic, it
sees the past?
Yes.
So it sees everything?
No, it sees the past. So the idea of Unbreakable is that there are extraordinary people, and that idea got worked in the comic books. It got watered down, it got made formulaic, but, like, the initial spark of that idea is that people knew people that had some superpowers.
There's always been truth in our supernatural fiction.
Yes.
So, like, maybe there was something to the epics.
Yeah. In Glass, there's a scene where they're trying to convince the girl from Split, is the mom there? I'm not sure if the mom's in that scene. It's the girl from Split.
Oh, you're talking about
Glass's mom.
Glass's mom.
Who doesn't need to be in this movie and is awful.
Unfortunately, I agree with you.
There's the girl from Split, and
just hire an older lady. Don't do the gross makeup. It looks terrible.
It doesn't. She's written terribly.
No, I know that, but I'm also laughing every time she's on screen because her makeup is terrible.
Because in my opinion, she is the most crazy person in the movie.
But, like,
and maybe the most evil.
But, like, that actress needs to be playing 90 years old, and she does not feel like she's 90 years old.
No.
And the makeup is ridiculous, and like, it's almost like it's just patting itself on the back for getting the actors that were in Unbreakable. And I'm like, no, just hire an older lady to play that part. Like, seriously. But I'm with you, she didn't need to be there. It's just everybody... You had to end the movie with...
a representative
from each person, where they left someone behind. And so she could push a button.
But she's a monster. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So...
That we have a lot to say.
Yeah. So, there's a scene where the girl from Split and David Dunn's son are trying to convince the therapist that comic books are reality. And there's a point where she holds up the comic book, it looks like what happened in Split, and says, "How can you explain this? This happened to me." In this movie, we didn't make comic books as like a watered down interpretation of the idea of people being beyond what we think they can be. They literally depict events that have happened in a watered down fashion.
Even if no one could know about them.
Yeah. Like, it's like mystical. She holds up and says, "How can you explain this?"
Yeah, and here's the thing.
No one can!
I might be wrong. It's possible that she went on the news and dictated exactly what happened to her, but if that was the case, she would not be saying that. She would be going, "Oh, I was on the news that one time, somebody just put it in a comic book and they owe me money and I'm going to sue them and take them to court."
Yeah, I'm sure there was also an episode of Law and Order that ripped from the headlines and adapted that story too.
Yeah.
Is Law and Order the reality?
How do you explain this?
That's awful. And it hurts Unbreakable, because then I started wondering where I was like, wait, is that what Unbreakable was saying? Because that's dumb.
I don't think it is, though.
I don't either.
That's not in that movie. Even if he got lucky if that's what he meant to do, because it's not in that movie.
He didn't interpret it.
Yeah. I don't think so. But there were places where I felt like it was hurting Unbreakable. I would have to go back and watch them all in succession to really... to
watch Glass first, then watch the other two and just watch them on the ride.
I remember there being... I can't remember what exactly... There were one or two scenes where I was like, oh, that hurts Unbreakable, but I don't remember why exactly now. I I know you have huge issues with the water is kryptonite thing.
Okay, so they seem to treat water like kryptonite. And that's not how water works. He isn't...
Which, it is his kryptonite in the sense that that's his weakness because he's... Like his super strength doesn't make him immune to swallowing water.
Yeah, if he goes in water, he inhales too quickly.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. In this movie, it seems like if he's near or covered in what... Like, it seems like if he took a shower, he would lose his powers, is the way, to me, it was presented. Because we spray him with water, and he's just like... It's like Clark Kent with kryptonite, where it's like, oh no! Like, I mean, he doesn't say oh no.
Was it played like that?
She says you think your strength is leaving you or something along those lines. And then later...
I mean, the bigger issue was the puddle, because I didn't buy that being in a shallow pool of water like that, he would swallow it so bad that he'd lose his super strength. Like, it shouldn't make him lose his strength. It should just, like make it so that he
should still be fighting back and trying to get out. It makes him powerless.
Yeah, you should make him powerless.
But even before they murder him in the puddle, which... was one of those things like I thought was hilarious. I found out everyone thought it was hilarious. And I was
if you're drowning, it's harder to do things. So that's all it was.
Yeah, but before they drown him in the puddle,
which, by the way, the whole internet is making fun of.
I know, and that disappoints me. Like, I thought that was hilarious. I didn't want it to become a meme. Like, everyone thinks it's so funny. I'm like, well, it's not bad. Like, it's funny.
Believe it or not, there are dumber things in that movie.
Yeah. So, like, I thought it was like kind of silly. But people think it's like the dumbest thing ever. It's like they didn't watch the rest of the movie.
Well, and I'm hearing, I think a lot of that came from people who didn't see the movie and just heard that they did that. I'm like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
So go watch the movie because there are dumber things.
So, but before he gets put in the puddle, he does something and there's like the water tower that breaks, whatever, right? And he's just laying there in the water as if it's kryptonite, and his son says, "No, don't go near him. He's weak right now." They treat water like it's literally his kryptonite in this movie.
So you're right. Like if that's the case, if that's what it's supposed to be, then they have reinterpreted, especially because we weren't talking about the powers like they were actually supernatural.
No, it was...
That's my one big issue with Unbreakable, is that if you have this realistic explanation for what we would describe as a superpower, but like that is by definition not supernatural, any more than having than being so easily broken with your bones is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
The idea with that is, no, it's not super, it's science. But then at the same time, so that we can progress the narrative and get to where we need to get at the end with Unbreakable, we also have touch telepathy, which is a superpower. That was always my issue with that movie. I don't remember if I even talked about that in the rewind, so I say always. But whenever I've gone back to it, I'm like, oh wait, that's weird. Because there's no scientific explanation for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no like extrapolating from a real scientific thing with that. And we did do that with Split, where we took a real disorder, DID, and we said, there are things you can do just because you think you can, and there's placebo effect. What if you thought you had super strength? Would it give you super strength? Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's as plausible as the thing we did in Unbreakable, I think. I'm fine with that. With this, it's... No. People could maybe fly in this universe. People could shoot heat beams, maybe. It doesn't matter.
It's heroes.
Yeah.
Part of the problem... you know what? I say it's well directed, but then I don't know. So, I have a lot of issues with all of the fight choreography.
Yeah.
Because they never feel powerful, and there's a point where there's these SWAT guys going at David and the Beast. And the Beast is, like, on this shield and just, like, clawing at it. And it just seems like he's, like, a druggie, like, on roids. Like, he doesn't seem super strong. There's a moment where I'm like, wait, is this movie going to say that they don't have superpowers? Because they're both struggling really hard to push these people back. And not like they're super in its realistic way, like as if they're just two normal men.
Oh, but then they got you with the shield twist, Eric. See, you never saw that coming.
Yeah, well, and then Mr. Glass dies, and and
it was kind of unintentionally funny, man.
It's
when
he falls out of the chair.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
But that's because I'm not with the movie anymore. Like,
no,
you
it's
could have
because
done that exact scene in a movie where I'm with it, and it would have been visceral and it would have hurt my feelings.
Well, I told you because this movie treats itself like a thriller, even though there's nothing thrilling in it. The one scene that I felt was tense was when the guy drops the light and catches it right above his legs, because I was like, I know what's going to happen to his legs. That's a genuinely tense scene to me. But when he fell, it was funny.
Yeah.
I don't think you should have the sound effects. I think that scene's more dramatic if you don't have that.
I agree with that, and I think they. I mean, to be fair, they did that some in Unbreakable, but it was more effective there. But
yeah,
like,
you're with the piece, right?
Again, they don't meld the two tones of the previous films together well. There's too much of Split's soundtrack in this movie. There are places where we're not doing anything at all with the Horde or the Beast, and we're using that industrial like stuff that we do in Split, and like I don't know why that soundtrack is there in those particular scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to keep us tense, I guess. Like, Shyamalan likes to make these like isolated movies that mostly take place in one place. The premise he has for this movie isn't conducive to that. So having the majority of it take place in the psychiatric institution, I think is a mistake.
Well, and it feels like he just knew what the ending was going to be, and he needed a way to do it. Like, it felt like he didn't know what to do for the movie.
It's kind of all twist, isn't it?
Yeah, like, I feel like he knew that at the end of this movie, Mr. Glass was going to master manipulate to get the world to know that superheroes
exist.
And what do I do until I get to that twist? What if... Because, like, it can't be too big, and, like, I don't have to, like, write, like, a lot of, like, different plot lines with these 3 different characters, so they'll all be in one place. What if somebody's just trying to convince them they're not superheroes? Like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like, we just didn't know what to do for the movie.
The twist that Mr. Glass inadvertently created the Beast does not make sense.
No, it's... And it's dumb. Because you're going to talk about timeline issues. Even if that worked, it's awful.
Why do you think it's awful?
It's so contrived. It's so unbelievably contrived. Like, even timeline-wise, like, really? Like, his mom beat him because his dad died? Like, he treats it like he just never came home. Like, I don't... That feels real contrived. And, like, we have to connect these 2 movies. Because...
Yeah.
I immediately... The second we cut to the train, I was like, oh, no, we're doing this? But talk about the timeline issues.
So this is going to be confusing, and I'm going to try not to take too long with this, because I don't... It could be a couple of different things, and whichever it is, I don't think it works. So let me start with the 3 years old thing. In Split, we have a line that, and I forget which personality it was. I think it must be Dennis? I can't remember. We have a line that when he was 3 years old, Kevin got, abused by his mother. And the line is something like, she had really malevolent ways of punishing a 3-year-old. That's what it is. So we have a timeline there. We know that when he was 3, he was already getting beaten really, really badly. Furthermore, that is a conversation, I'm almost positive it's Dennis. That is a conversation, yeah, it's got to be, that Dennis is having with the psychiatrist lady, with Fletcher. And she says, was that the point where you first emerged? And he says yes. So that means that the personalities were already coming out when he was 3 years old. Now we know from the flashback in Glass, for sure, that he's older than 3 when that happens. When the train explodes.
Mm-hmm.
If he was 3, that's the dumbest eventuality, right? Because it's only 15 years ago. So that would have meant, let me start with the first impossible eventuality. If he was just 3 when it happened, that would mean that 15 years later he's only 18. And the reason that's impossible is twofold. A, he clearly is older than 18. But B, even if you could buy that, we know he's been working at the zoo for a decade. We're told in Split he's been working there for 10 years. And Fletcher's impressed that he's been able to hold down a job for that long. I always got the sense that he must have had other jobs before that didn't go as well. You can't tell me that the first thing he does is the zoo job with all those personalities. He manages to function that well all that time. It can't be his first job, right? And that's why it doesn't work at all. So if if the personalities started happening before the train thing, that means that she was malevolently punishing her kid even before the father left, which I guess is not impossible or necessarily bad. Like, that could be, and then maybe it's just a lot worse after he leaves. But Split would lead you to believe that the dad going on the train was like the catalyst for everything. Glass also leads you to believe that going on the train, that the father going on the train is the catalyst for everything.
Does it say he goes on the train and Split? Does he say
Yes.
he's on a train?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so it is seated.
Yeah, it's seated.
Okay.
Sort of.
Okay.
But it feels retroactive.
Okay.
If that is what he intended, he had to set Glass later than he said it because it doesn't work timeline-wise.
I just meant in that I thought it was contrived that his dad was on the Unbreakable train. If he says it in Split, that's not as bad for my issue.
Well, do you not remember that that's the... I know you saw it one time, but that's the reason that... Dennis has to go to the train station because because as Fletcher says, because your father left on the train, and that's why the Beast is formed in a train station.
Okay, I did not remember that. Okay, that's not as contrived. That sounds like he was intending to make that reveal,
but it still doesn't work.
It was still contrived.
Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's not just contrived.
But
it's impossible.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because if it didn't happen, let me start over. If the personality started forming when he was 3, and then a few years later the dad left on the train, now he's 9 or even 12, whatever. I still have issues with he worked 10 years at a zoo thing, because the oldest he could possibly be is 24, and there's no way that kid in the flashback is is older than 12. I don't think he's older than 9, probably. And I want to think that he's 9 because Hedwig is perpetually 9. And why is Hedwig 9? Why is he specifically that age? Mm-hmm. So, those are all possibilities. So the longest he could be working at that zoo is since he was like 17. And I just don't buy that. So that's an issue. But the bigger problem is it's played like Glass created a supervillain because the dad died in the train, and that's when the personalities were created.
But they started with
Can't be! Not possible! Doesn't work at all!
Yeah.
Anybody that has worked this out better than me, that has an explanation, I want to hear it, because nobody has been able to explain this to me. It does not work at all. And the thing is, if we wanted to retcon it and, be more vague about how many years it's been or whatever, they could have sort of done that and it wouldn't work, but it would be better than this. We know specifically how many years it's been. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But also, we screwed that up at the end of Split because you had the woman at the restaurant with Dunn there who was like, remember 15 years ago? That guy in the wheelchair? So, we've already said that it's been 15 years, so we couldn't have said it any farther ahead. Mm-hmm. So if he was seeding that and that was his plan, he should have made it later. Mm-hmm. Or he should have just changed the number, how long he was working the zoo and all of that. But anyway, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't
I'm sorry.
multiple drafts.
I know that was long-winded. I just, like in the theater, it broke my brain. I was like, that's not possible. Eric's over there laughing at the train review like, this is the stupidest thing. I'm just going, wait a minute. That's not possible.
So, also, his death is like an SNL skit. Where it's like, it'd be like if Dana Carvey pretended to die, and he had to do all of his characters
You're
as he was dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, and, he also didn't see Deadpool 2. Well, I mean, he would have been in the middle of making this when Deadpool 2 came out. But, it's like the Deadpool 2 death if it wasn't ironic. Because it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah. Every personality pop up and say goodbye.
It's very funny.
Because you're never going to see them again. Okay, so then... Twist. So twist
this is
1.
The last big thing we have to talk about, yeah.
Well, kind of 2. So twist 1. Oh my God, Mr. Glass created Split. Twist 2. this woman is secretly working for Evil Shield.
Yeah.
Who's suppressed... Okay. So there's like 1,000 people. It's not like 1,000. It's like there's like 100 people that sit in restaurants.
And none of them do anything!
None of them do anything!
She runs the whole place and she does everything!
Yeah. So I don't know what these people... It's like the Watchers. It's like the Watchers in Buffy. What do they do other than the one that's watching the Slayer? And why is that a crap job?
Yeah, the lawyer from the O.J. Simpson miniseries is making it so that no one knows about supernatural things.
So...
That's what she does.
For thousands of years they've
She's,
been...
by the way, excellent in that, and you need to see that so you can see her in a good performance.
So for thousands of years, this organization has been suppressing that super people exist.
They sacked Rome.
Yeah,
They put plague
This is
rats on
so
places.
heightened for the unbreakable reality. Like...
That it breaks it?
Never.
Is that what you're saying?
Never. Oh, this movie breaks Unbreakable. Never once would I think that something like this was possible, because the pitch of Unbreakable is that it's the real world, but like, because they're not superheroes, they're not world-changing. He's stronger than an average man. He can see if people do evil.
Also has telepathy.
Yeah, and he can see that people do evil. Sure.
You see why I have a problem with it.
I understand. But, like, he's not Superman. If he exists, it doesn't change the world. People like this exist. We talked about, not on camera, we talked about Stanley's Superhumans.
Yes.
Like, people like this exist with things that would seem beyond belief. Fact or fiction. It's... Ripley's Believe It or Not. Like... It's not the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Like, you're not finding out Thor exists. You're not finding out that, like, Multiple Man exists. Like, it's people that are a little bit above normal human standards.
Yeah.
They're not gods.
Yep.
And these people have spent thousands of years.
Yep. But there's a thing even stupider than what you're talking about.
Okay. Is it the ending?
Which is... Not only does she do everything, and are all these people that sit in a room, they don't seem to have any responsibilities whatsoever, for thousands of years.
But you know if she messed up, they would all be giving her, like, they'd all be giving her a stern talking to.
They sure would. But they wouldn't fire her because they would not know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
For thousands of years. And maybe they have with Lazarus Pit. Maybe she has gone back all that time. For thousands of years, they have made it so that no one knows about the supernatural. By the way, I thought of this.
And doesn't suppress fiction about it.
That's what I was going to say.
Oh.
Why? She goes to the comic shop and is looking at comics? I don't know why. Are they like the hot sheets in Men in Black? Like, I don't know why she goes there to look at them, but you'd think that they would
And
be
the same comic store.
murdering every comic writer they could find to make sure that people don't find out about supernatural beings. She's been doing it all by herself, doesn't use anybody else, and goes one city at a time.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Yep. And, again, with the reality of Unbreakable, I'm thinking this is like a 1 in, like, 1 billion people thing.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 in, like, 100 million people thing. She's gonna go to another city. Like, it's that frequent?
She's gonna go to another city and wait around until 2 or 3 people. Like also, can I say
So
what I was
15,
saying?
what's she doing with David Dunn for 15 years? And Mr. Glass.
Can I say the wine out problem
Yeah.
that I have with so many
Huge
things?
wine out
Huge
problem.
wine out problem. I don't get it.
Yep.
She just waits until these 3 people are there because they're the big names that they want to put in this movie.
Yep. Can I talk about why the most evil person in this movie might be Mr. Glass's mom?
Yes, and then we should finish up.
Yes.
I will throw in one real quick aside before
Okay.
you say that, and say the MG lapel pin is stupid.
Oh, it's so stupid.
I just got to throw that in there.
So where did he get it? Did he come in with it?
He could have made it and come in with it, because he's wearing the suit he wears at the end of Unbreakable, and the only thing I could figure, he couldn't have gotten picked up then because he didn't have that stupid lapel pin. So the only thing I can figure is he broke out at some point, did some other stuff, made that pin, and decided he was a supervillain and he had a cool pin, and then he got picked up later. And, like, I guess because he's acting like a supervillain, maybe he would have that. It felt really dumb.
Okay.
Anyway.
So, Mr. Glass's mom is aware that her son orchestrated the death of thousands. Because remember, he doesn't just do the train.
There's two other things.
Is there only two?
Yeah, there's a thing with an airplane.
There's a building.
And then, is there a thing with an airplane?
He starts... I don't know. I know he starts a fire in a building.
Remember that...
Because people can't get it out.
The thing where David touches him and he sees him, like, outside of an airport. Or he sees, like, inside of an airport and he looks through the glass. There's something with an airplane, I think, or something.
So there's at least three things where he has caused mass disasters that have murdered thousands of people.
Yes. Trying to find somebody that is unbreakable.
And his mother does not care. She thinks that he's a saint.
I mean, she acts like she does. You know, she's like, well, I know he's done these horrible things, but
Yeah, but his heart was in the right place. He was just trying to guess the truth. He never watched Stanley Superhumans. He didn't know that the truth was out there. So she...
That show didn't get made yet. He could not have known that.
Well, not... Okay. I Ripley's Believe in I Exist. I watch it. Dean Cain hosted it.
Sure. Yeah.
But that guy played Superman. But
he sure did.
She... Like, I know... She treats it like she's the mom of a bad kid at a parent-teacher conference. Or she's like, look, I know that he puts the other kids in lockers, but he's a really bright kid at heart. She does not acknowledge that he's murdered thousands. And the fact that they all gather together at the end, like excited school children, for the great thing he did. I'm not sure that M. Night Shyamalan remembers how many people he's murdered. Like, we act like he's the hero of this story.
A little bit.
Like...
A little bit. Yeah.
The movie kind of ends with, like, and he did this great thing, but also, everyone's...
Because he had to do all of this in order for the world to know the truth.
Yeah. I don't think that video would spread like that. Where, like, literally everyone's just, like, looking at them, oh my God.
I'm so done with the trope of everybody's phone lights up and they're all watching a video at the same time. That has never happened in the history of anything.
Well, and you know what's also dumb?
It's not an Amber Alert.
Yeah.
I think we've said this before.
Yeah.
It's not an Amber Alert.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Well, you know what's also dumb? They go to
it would spread, but not in the moment like that.
Now, I've never been to a train station. Or I've never been to, like, a major train station.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe I'm wrong. If train stations are anything like airports, they have the news on. I know that seems a little passé, but, like, if there's TVs, just have people watching the TV. You don't have to modern it up. The TVs still exist. The news still exists.
I'll disagree with that.
But, like, I'm sorry. These people aren't super enough that it changes the world. Like,
or you can have a guy with a big tablet who like sees it on his big tablet. He goes, "Hey, everybody, come look at this!
Hey, come look! You guys can believe this?
Crazy!
This one guy pushes 3 guys back, like a foot. You'll never believe it."
Okay, it might be doctored footage for a fan film, but if it's real, that's amazing!
Like, if that footage released tomorrow...
No one would believe it.
No one would care. Like, it's not super enough to care about.
No.
Like, oh, a fit guy pushed some people back and jumped on and, like, ran like this. Like,
no, if it's Andrew at the end of Chronicle, sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That would freak everybody out.
Yeah, if Andrew at the end of Chronicle happened, now you've got a superhero universe.
Yeah.
Now you got a universe going. This movie, no. Like, I don't...
That should have been your... We talked about this for 45 minutes. That should have been your whole review.
This movie.
No. So, I can't believe we haven't done this yet. It goes without saying. But,
And you know what bothers me?
It's rough.
You know what bothers me? Because it's getting bad. It's getting really bad critical reviews.
Yeah.
It's making money.
It's doing okay.
Because
I think it's won the box office 2 weeks in a row.
Because people were duped by Split. He made this movie. He's gonna get to keep making movies.
I was duped by Split. I mean, I'm in that camp.
Sure.
It's partly me. And you know what? I still like Split. I do. I can ignore this movie. I can still go back to Split. I enjoy that movie. I have issues with
it enough to ever go back. Like, I will probably never watch it again. Not because it's that bad. I just didn't care enough.
No, that's fair.
But
you got to remember, I'm the biggest McAvoy fan.
No, absolutely.
I love him so much.
And like when people ask me, I'm like, I don't think it's a good movie. The reason to see that movie is for James McAvoy.
Yeah.
everyone should see it once because he's amazing. That is the reason to see that movie. Like that's like above like story, like the art of it is really impressive.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good movie, but because he did that for like $9 million and it made $200 million,
Yep.
and then those people are going to go see this movie, he's going to get to keep making movies. He got himself out of movie jail.
To be fair, the advertising campaign was really good.
For this or for Split?
For this, it's been everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like, people are seeing it because it's in their face and there's nothing else in the theater to go to.
Yep.
I mean, it's January.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah.
So.
Not great. Folks, thanks a lot for watching. Leave your comments. Let us know what you thought of this movie and the one we talked about 1,000,000 years ago at the beginning of this video. I don't remember what that movie was. We talked about something. And we will see you again in a few minutes. If you want to stick around with us on the Geekvolution Omnibus, we're going to move on now to Primetime Crisis and talk about as many TV shows as we can. So look forward to that. More stuff coming your way. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you later, folks.